Utkarsh go first, and then we'll resume from the original schedule here. So Utkarsh has a decade of experience in customer success, customer marketing, and enterprise roles. He has worked with world-renowned organizations and is passionate about putting customer advocacy at the forefront of business growth. Thrives on data, leads with a customer-first approach, and always has fun. So let's welcome Utkarsh, and he will walk us through the customer advocacy presentation.
So hello everyone. Thanks for accommodating Shankar. I have a few North America calls, so I have to push off after this. But I'm very excited to talk about advocacy because a lot of you have already spoken about the tools, success parameters, engagement, and I think it's time we also talk about what comes out of doing all of this, right? What comes out of you guys doing customer calls, what comes out of you guys saving customers from churn, what comes out of you guys engaging with on email, on chat, day in and day out, right? And I think advocacy, customer advocacy is one very important tool that companies are realizing in today's ecosystem, right? So for example, in India, in Bangalore also, a lot of startups are at 1 million ARR, 5 million, 10 million, right? And it's only after this inflection point, once you reach scale, once you reach 40 million, 50 million, 100 million, once you reach 5,000, 10,000 customers, is when you start realizing how advocacy can unlock growth for you and how it can also unlock like real true customer championship that we talk about and that we aspire to have, right? So probably I'll move to the next slide wherein I'll quickly cover like what is customer advocacy, right? So I think it really depends on many things like many other things that we spoke about, but like what is a happy customer, right? If someone is giving a good CSAT, a good NPS, is he or she a happy customer? Someone who's using your product 80-90% capacity, is that person a happy customer, right? Or if someone a fan of your product, right, is he or she a happy customer, right? So I think it's a mix of all of these things, but when you, I think, give a very good experience right from before the sale has happened, right from the lead has come in from the marketing team, to the whole sales thing, to the whole go live life cycle, and then post sales, how do you treat once after you have sold, right? So I think it's experience plus delivery plus most importantly the service that you give to the customer that leads to advocacy, right? And who are advocates, who are customer advocates? I think these are customer champions who, as I've actually taken this quote from somewhere, are like, simply put, customers who spend most of the money on your product, bring in more customers. That's where advocacy comes in. And also shout your name from on rooftops, right? Which means they do case studies with you, they do testimonials with you, they kind of work with you in vetting your product, in doing beta testing, etc., right? So that is what is customer advocacy, right? And as I think, what are the different acts of advocacy? Like how do you define it? I already told you, but how do you do it, right? So probably I'll go to the next slide. Right. So as you can see, like you can do case studies on right, testimonials, customers sharing for you or tweeting for you, right, or sharing on LinkedIn, I think is kind of one act of advocacy. Then references, I think this is very important, wherein if your AE or AM wants some customers to come on a call for a prospect to sell to a prospect, I think that is where it's very important. Again, referrals, we talk about upselling and cross-selling, right? So how do you have your one customer whom you have sold to, let's say, sales department, how can you get net new contacts in marketing department or support department, and probably also would want to sell to those, right? So your event speakers, like people who come and speak on your behalf physically as well as virtually in webinars and roundtables, right? Then your community champions, like a lot of, like Salesforce has trailblazers, right? So very, like once you reach a certain scale, you start building communities, and then you have champions from existing customers who like probably are the showstoppers for your community, right? They run the show for you. So I think that is also one type. Then obviously Gartner, G2 kind of reviews, beta testers, customer advisory boards, voice of customer. So I think these are different like acts of advocacy, I would say. And depending on how many customers do you have, what is the kind of MRR you are serving, etc. B2B versus B2C, which geographies are you serving, you can pick and choose amongst which acts of advocacy work best for your business, right? Now going to the next slide, talking about business, what it actually means for your business, right? So like there are many kinds of customers and many definitions, right? But I would say like there are satisfied customers, like I said, they gave you good CSAT, they gave you a high NPS score, but they might still be in the satisfied category where it's like a very transactional process. They might be minimum users, they might be discount users, but they're still satisfied because their use case is being met. Now that they are necessarily are not advocates, it's just that they your product offers 10 features, they need 2 features, they use 2 features, they're happy with those 2 features. But what about the other 8 features, right? So that is the first category. Then there are loyal customers. That's now one level up. That's where we want to start to go, right? Who will give you feedback, who will share their opinions, who will come on calls regularly, who have a certain, kind of pie in the whole game, right? And then there are evangelists, which like I talk about, right? Like the creme de la creme, the top customers who are thought leaders, who share on your behalf socially, who kind of champion your product and also kind of amplify it across other departments, etc. So this is like, what does it mean for your business is also an outcome of how you see and define your customers accordingly, right? And they are the biggest champions because, as you can see, they know your ecosystem, they advocate for you, right? And they buy more and more from you, like I also showed, like told in the previous slide. And one jargon that we all know is selling to existing customers is 10x, 1/10 the cost of acquiring a new customer, etc. So that all fits in, right? And what it also means for your business, what can be the KPIs for your customer success teams or even for your account managers or customer marketers, right? Is how many number of customer success stories you are churning out quarter on quarter, year on year, right? If you are a smaller company, case studies are not working, then short small bite testimonials or reviews that they are doing for you, right? Or if they are coming and talking to you for events, how are they rating you, like increase in NPS, CSAT. So I think there can be different KPIs, but these are some of the examples, right, that I have mentioned. Now, how to identify? A lot of people like, okay, I understand advocacy is very important. Advocates are like the true champions, but how do I identify my advocates, right? So if you see, for example, I've divided into 4 sections, right? One is, what is the persona of the customer that you are looking, right? Is he or she an educator? Are they validators? Are they collaborators? That also depends on, are they satisfied or are they loyal or are they evangelists, right? Connecting back to my previous slide. And what metrics will matter? I think your revenue, their revenue, relevancy to your company, the industries that you cater to, their current brand recognition, if they are very high on health score. Some of these metrics, I think, are the metrics, top line metrics that would matter. And what would you monitor or log to understand if he or she is an advocate, right? So your product interactions, content interactions, which means on your website, how are they coming or not? Are they reading your blogs or not? Are they downloading the reports that are there on your website, company's website or not, right? Social interactions, again, are they speaking for your behalf virtually, physically? Are they sharing your stuff on LinkedIn, Twitter, right? Direct interactions, obviously, CSMs do and they identify. And also you should see that while there's an increase in NPS or CSAT, are they also willing to refer you or recommend you in the ecosystem? I think that is very important. And some certain actions to take. So I think it's a milestone based approach depending on current scores. Or if there is a bad interaction, how do you deal with a customer? Or if you have made a failed release, product has broken, some feature has broken, or promises have not been met, then how do you talk and tackle, right? Are some of the actions that you take, like you're collecting feedback or not? If stakeholders are changing, like someone mentioned, like someone bought the product under their nose because the stakeholders changed. So I think these are some of the actions that you should take, event-based or milestone-based, right? Now moving to the next slide. I think there are many strategies you can Google and you will find, but I think it's very important to identify, like I said, and focus on your happy customers. And again, happiness is very subjective, so please don't go only with like a siloed approach of NPS CSAT. It is a mix of many things that like I told you in the previous sites. And then if also if he or she is happy, they're also advocates. But is it a good enough story for you to share with other customers and prospects is also what you should look at, right? So for example, if you are talking to the CEO of Microsoft, even if you have a case study from a SMB in India, it will not help. So you will have to have a reference from Google or Facebook or Twitter, like equivalent companies, and then the conversation becomes interesting, right? So basically, you have to qualify, you have to motivate, you have to take the buy-in. Then you have to iterate, as I said, what is the kind of story, is it worth telling, where can we use and how, then take the approvals, and obviously then you publish, right? So yeah, first you build it and then you scale it, right, is what I would say. Now, when should you introduce advocacy-led engagement with customers in your life cycle, right? So like for large companies, I was giving Microsoft example or Disney Hotstar example. I think it becomes very crucial because they also want to hear from other Fortune 100 companies or have a compelling event speaker or a compelling thought leader from a similar kind of a industry and similar kind of a geography and kind of stature, right? But yeah, if you add a existing customer CEO to a prospect call, obviously it adds a lot of value and it helps you convert those deals, and people buy looking at Gartner, Forrester, etc. So even ensuring that those things are up and running and customers are reviewing and you are rewarding them for that, I think is also important. But I think the simplest hack is just ask them. Don't be fearless and ask them whenever you think you can, right? So for example, if you see that you are delivering value, teams are delivering value, your product is delivering value, or you have solved for them and they are really happy and really grateful, I think you should just go ahead and ask. Worst is they'll say no, they won't churn, right? So it's fine to ask is what I'll leave you with, right? And once you have asked and if they have said no, please obviously don't be extra persistent. Wait for 3 to 6 months and then ask again. Or if they have come and spoken for you in an event, for example, then again after 2 months you go, it won't look good, right? So you have to also wait once you have utilized someone's time, right? And then how do you attract advocates? I would say, I think, as you can see, make it worth their time. Ensure that they are always like well taken care of. They are treated as a VIP, right? So why will they be your advocate? Like one is what is in it for me, right? Like, is it PR for me, right? Am I learning something? Is there a like kind of a profile building exercise for me, right? So one is like what is in it for the customer, and one is when you come to customer advisory boards, when you join some referral programs or user groups, or when you join a local community from your industry, right? Through your customers, I think that also adds a lot of real value. And obviously on top of that, how you treat your customers, how you reward them, whether it's a swag or even handwritten thank you notes or celebrating milestones, I think recognizing them, nurturing them, and ensuring it's worth their time by making them the core of everything rather than your company or your product or your offering, I think really helps attracting advocates, right? Moving to the next slide. I think benefits we all know somewhere, but we haven't unlocked it. A lot of us haven't unlocked it because again, we are at like 1 million, 5 million, 10 million kind of a stage, right? But once we move past 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, as I started by saying, then you realize that it really helps, advocacy really helps you create a support system for other customers. Your support team might not be able to reach them, or locally, let's say you don't have an office in Israel, but you have a customer community and a customer-led community. There is where like once you increase your footprint is when you see real value, right? It also obviously helps it make it easy to identify your customer champion needs because you talk to them day in and day out. Brand awareness goes without saying, loyalty goes without saying, right? And it also helps you minimize your acquisition cost because they keep buying more and more as you unlock value for them. And last but not the least, it gives boosts to sales. As I said, the referral programs, customer references, event speakership, I think it all does that. And once they are your fans, they are your raving fans, then they are also like stuck with you, happily stuck with you, and that also improves retention. So in the larger scheme of things, I think there are many benefits to advocacy if you do it right. Next slide, please. So how would you use it to grow and demand new business? I think that's what I do in my role, right? So I have multi-million dollar targets on how do I upsell and cross-sell to existing customers using marketing as a tool, using engagement as a tool, right? So obviously case studies, reviews, testimonials, all of these things really help grow demand, brand value, and attract new business. Your referrals and references, I think I spoke about, are really, really important. Then it's also cost effective or probably no cost, right? So and they are available, your advocates are available to you at all times, so you can choose to use them in whatever capacity and whenever you want, right? That also kind of, when they generate noise for you, that itself propels demand. And as I said, like, you don't even spend $1, and you have people who can test your product, you have people who vouch for you, you have people who do everything for you, because you are creating value for them, you are recognizing them, you are making it worth their time, right? So I think it really helps in creating demand and net new business. So I think I kind of covered it rather quickly, but I'll probably pause here. If you have any questions, or have you done customer advocacy, any of those that I've mentioned, or you plan to do, or any questions around customer advocacy in general, I am happy to answer. Because in the interest of time, I had to go real quick. So yeah. No, I think I'm good then. Thank you so much, guys, and I hope this was helpful. This gives you a perspective on how this can be, advocacy can be used to propel growth.
Okay, thanks, Utkarsh.